and there's all this external change, and you're navigating this. What's going through your mind, and what plans are you putting in place at that time?
Well, again, we go back to that strategic planning part, right? And during that strategic plan, we were able to say, this is who we serve. This is this is the maximum value add we can give to a certain subset of clients or clientele or prospective clients. Pardon me. So, in the last, I would say, 2.5 weeks, so as I said, there was this massive, uptake of, all of a sudden we've got every single one of our clients wants to talk to us, or we've reached out to them, vice versa. Which again, that's a rarity. There's very rare that within 2 weeks, every single one of your clients that you're responsible for, right? In the business I'm in, I'm responsible for them. That's what we take on. So, whether they have a problem or we think that there's a perceived problem, we're going to be reaching out. So it was crazy. My schedule was nuts. My business partner, Kevin, our executive assistant, Dama, she's booking these meetings in Zoom. I don't know if I'm in this room. I don't know if I'm in that room. I don't know if I'm supposed to be in my own room. I'm having dreams about Zoom. I'm starting to get pretty burnt up. And then, then there was a ginormous suck, and it was just like, whoosh, then there was nothing, because, we'd sort of gone through all the iterations with our clients, and it wasn't as bad as I maybe putting out. And then what, right? So we're sort of saying to ourselves, so what are we going to do? And, we've been toying again, right? The strategic plan had told us that we were having challenges filling rooms with seminars and webinars and conferences. They're cumbersome. They're a ton of work. They're expensive. That 6-week lead up time and catering and perfection that comes along with these things. And again, right, we were lucky enough to have sort of some pre-canned stuff in the mill that we were already ready to release. IG had already recognized that, webinars and seminars, whatever you want to call them, information sessions, this was already ready to roll. So, we just started, sending out some messages to some people like you were, right? You and I started doing this. Like, how are we going to engage with people? What do they want right now, right? What do they want from me? Because I know what they want, but that doesn't really change the conversation. I know what they want. I know what I do, so I know what the client's going to want. It was probably our Canadian linen days, that when we were working together, that once we knew we had a sales process, we were able to identify the need very quickly within a few minutes of meeting with a client. But the process we followed said, hold on, let them go through everything, because there might be other opportunities we're missing. Or when it gets to that point where we're, working with a client to finish off the contract, that there's nothing hiding, right? That there's nothing left over that we haven't covered. Rather than going in, hey, you need something, I found it, here you go, that's it. That's not the way that we were taught or that we were trained. So, we said to ourselves, okay, so what do we got to do? And when I say we, that's me. Kevin and Dama are on sort of that servicing, and Kevin's on the strategic side. My job, I've created this business where my job is only to service existing great clients. And so the go-between is the relationship manager. But I trust the team to take care of all of the background stuff. I trust them to take care of calls directly from the client. I am not the client's direct contact. In fact, I wish them not to be me being the contact, because I'll probably take it longer to do, and I'll probably screw it up, because that's what they do all day. So I started doodling around with a few things. I think I showed you there. I was showing you Doodly. There was a Doodly app where you can make sort of like these little short videos. I'm working with promo.com to make promo videos.
You're going through all these different ideas on how to engage.
How do I engage online now?
Okay, how to engage online specifically.
Totally.
So you're not picking up the phone anymore. You've got, let's just go back. I just want to connect the dots. So your clients start calling you. You start having influx of client calls. Dama's booking your calendar. You've got all, back-to-back Zoom meetings. And while that's happening and you're fielding questions and servicing your clients, why are you thinking about how to engage with them? What's the motivation? Where are you
You know what? I looked at my news stream and I knew right away what I needed to talk about, because my news stream, which, most of us now probably don't realize how procured the information is that you receive.
Right.
So, if you're looking for financial advice, you're probably going to receive a lot of information on financial advice. Except what was going on during those couple of weeks was people weren't so concerned. They didn't want to talk about the markets, right? They didn't want to talk about the markets, right? Because it was out of their control. I mean, and it still is to this day. It's not something they can control. And so, if I'm looking at this equation, I have to say to myself, what kind of things can I control? So when we're talking with these people, I'm talking to them what they're worried about. And I mean, it's the age-old question, what keeps you up at night? A version of that kept coming up as they were just worried. Clients are just worried. They want to know they're going to be okay. And, that's when the connection started happening. That's what I just shared with you. I just, got ready for this meeting, and I had to write down 5 other things, like just right now, on how I'm going to be connecting with existing clients. And then on top of that is with new ones. So that's where this connection is starting to happen, is understanding that, people were getting email after email about, this news item, or this financial services company says the markets are going up. This one says it's going down. This one says you should buy toilet paper stock. This one says you should buy Amazon stock. It's completely irrelevant. No one has any good idea about that. What I can control is, the plan. I can control what you're going to do with your money, how you're going to use your money, or how you're going to save that money, or taxation. I can control those things. So
with the end
result, pivoting.
With the end result, how you get to where you want to during retirement. And
correct. Yeah. That's the main goal for sure.
So you're connecting for that. This is like the 4th week. We got the 2 week, that you're quarantined, about 4 weeks of connecting with clients. So what have they been, what's their feelings now? Are they still worried? Are they feeling more secure?
Yeah, no, it was all happening. It's almost like it was happening in Matrix time. The bullets flying and everything's going, but you're kind of, slowed out. And the reason why I say that is because I kept saying to myself, well, whenever we went through an on-demand financial plan, and that's something I'm working on right now. I want to be able to push this thing, one step further. And so where this on-demand financial plan came in, it was, we can literally sit in front of you, just like you and I are today. Within a few short minutes of a survey, and this isn't a public survey, it's something that we've developed as a company. It's going to give a score. And this was already in the works, right? So it says, what's your score? And I really want to focus in on, no one really knows how they're doing when it comes to their financial life. They look outside and they see things that probably aren't true. And they see a neighbor with a new boat, and they see a neighbor going to the cabin, and but what they don't know is that person's actual financial fitness score, or whatever we're going to be calling it, but their financial fitness score is not good. And it could be because of a high debt level. It could be because of insurance risk. It could be because of, lack of retirement savings. So all those things. So in my mind, I'm hearing these clients saying to me, I'm going to be okay. And I'm showing them a live plan, and we're updating it. Okay, so, Bob's been laid off. So how does that affect his income? Where can we cut expenses? So we look at their budget, right? There's part of their financial score. So what items are necessary versus what items are not necessary, right? And I started to say to myself, boy, it would be so awesome to be able to say, look, your financial score hasn't changed but much. This hasn't affected it that much.
Right.
And it's a number, right? We all score everything. I've got watches that tell me how many steps I've taken. I've got calorie counters that tell me how much I shouldn't eat. I've got, bank accounts that tell me, the levels, but there's no number out there that says, oh, okay, I'm a 64 out of 100. So again, it's just all these things are working out so awesome because they were already putting this in place. And now I can go back to clients and say, nothing's changed. I can show them the plan, and I can show them, the nuts and bolts of it. For the most part, they just want to know that they're going to be okay. But now I can measure it. I could literally say your plan is now a 77 by doing these 3 things. Or this particular life event has affected you. It's actually knocked you down to a 62 again. So here's what we need to do to get it back up there.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah, and so now, and again, now so you're probably starting to get the picture, and you can even hear my voice and my tone and inflection, which you and I love talking about. I get excited about this because now there's a whole bunch of missing pieces that have been missing from my own financial planning practice, but then also the opportunity, because this can all be done online.
Well, I tell you what this makes me think of, and just, feel free to correct me if I'm off, because I know you fly for real. But when you're flying a plane, you might not be able to look and see whether you're flying right straight up or not. And that's why you have the instruments on the panel. And when there's so much chaos, and when there's so much external distraction, and you're trying to field all the media, all the information, it's easy to think you're upside down, and then make decisions on that, and you might not really be upside down. And when I hear you talking about being able to measure your financial fitness, what it makes me think of is seeing the dial that says, no, you're fine. You're upright. You're on course. Just stay the course. Oh, you got to make an adjustment. Fine, make an adjustment, but you're not upside down. You're not doing a 180 right now. Is that fair? Perfect. I think that there's if you're going to use the analogy, I think that in aviation, and I'm probably wrong on this, but it's trust the dial, right? Trust what the dial says. Like you said, it may seem like things are not going right, but trust what that dial says. And so, and this, like you said, is that there's lots going on, and a lot of it can be missed. So even if you don't notice, and if we're going to continue on that, 747 with that huge dashboard and, 2 controls, there's a dual button for everything. There's a heck of a good chance without a series of checkpoints, which they do, right? A pilot has a checklist every time gets it or gets into that plane, and they're going to check them off. And we're going to check those things off because there's a light way down in the corner by your feet that you're supposed to check every time. And that has to do with fuel level. I mean, let's just say that's pretty simple. But it's flashing red right now. But everything else is going on, and you don't notice something extremely important. You're running out of fuel. You don't know it, but you're running out of fuel. And obviously, when you're running out of fuel, it doesn't work so well. So, this system that they're building, but I'm building it around it already. Like, I already know what's coming. And I want to say, like, it's going to be the on-demand financial plan. And so this is coming in the last 2 weeks. It's the on-demand financial plan. It's 10-minute survey. If you give us 10-minute survey, we'll take 20 minutes afterwards when we get that survey, which is instantaneous. So it's not like some 5-week period to get in front of me or get in front of you, and you got to find some time. I got to find some time, and no, sorry, I'm on holidays, or when you have a financial problem, you go and Google it. Problem is it never puts it all together in one spot, and that's not specific enough to you. Right.
So you get this 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then I'll give you another, probably half an hour, and I can tell you exactly 3 things you need to do to improve your financial life. Most of them are obvious. We get it. Spend less, make more, save more, that kind of thing. But the other 97 checkpoints that people don't check on, that's what we're going to do. That's where we're going to sharpen that. We're going to sharpen that for us.
So is this a good time for people to engage, to help them come out of, as the machine starts opening up, May 4th, phase 1 in Manitoba. It's different for every province, different for every state and country, but we're starting to open back up and test phase 1 for the month. When's a good time for people to start engaging in understanding those other 97 areas to help?
I guess, we're so passionate about this is that we say it's right now, it's yesterday, and it's tomorrow. It's every day. That's the point of this is it won't be when's the right time. The right time is when you have a financial situation that's changed, and we need to plug it into your plan and tell us, that evidentiary financial planning process. We say, this is what has to happen. This is how it's going to affect you. But I think more in general, when you're talking about, people that are in the business of engagement, right? So like what you and I do, we're engaging with our clientele and finding out how we can be of assistance. I think you can any business can call either their clients or their prospective clients and ask them. This came from Dan Sullivan, and Dan Sullivan's got a really good podcast on right now called Scary Times. It's a bit of a regurgitation of another previous podcast, but it's quite relevant. And it's just ask your client, if there was one thing I could do for you right now, doesn't matter what it is, right? It doesn't matter what it is. What is it? What would that be? How could I help you? Because we all have these unique connections and unique abilities to be able to connect the right people with the right person to get the job done. And like you said when we were starting talking here about that entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, you give me a wall, I'll scale it, right? You give me a mountain, I'll go over it. I'll figure it out. I always do. So just calling these people and saying, I was thinking about you, and you got to be genuine about this. You really have to be thinking, how is that manufacturing plant that I work with? I wonder how things are going. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to call them and say, how can I help you right now? What is it that I could do? And they might say, get me a $5 million loan at 0% interest. And you're going to say, well, it's not possible. But, maybe, just maybe they might say, hey, do you know where I can get some hand sanitizer? And I'll say, that's funny. One of my individual clients works at a company called Dua Color Group, and they're selling it bulk. So yeah, I can help you, right? So there you go. I mean, that might be 5 phone calls, but yeah, I have something I can do for you. I can get that for you. I can do that. And that just shows the tremendous value that you bring to that relationship. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure that it's the best time for all businesses to be out there engaging. I don't know if I'm not qualified. For me, it is, because this is, next to toilet paper is top of mind for every Canadian right now.
Right. Toilet paper and finances.
Yeah.
They're both money. Toilet paper. Well, yeah. So, what I find interesting is, in social media, people have different advice about reaching out, not reaching out during this time, selling, not selling. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions, we use this as a platform to talk this out real quick. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is, actually it isn't a misconception, because I can see why people perceive this, that selling is really selfish, right? So why would I go sell in a time where people are afraid and frightened because it's not a good time to sell? Well, I think what this does is it uncovers and unpacks the initial motivation for selling, right? If you're
bang on. I wrote down a couple of notes here about sort of our relationship. I wasn't 100% sure where we were going to go, and there's the word assumption, right? And some of the things I thought I would talk about, but. Right. Don't assume that these people, these industries, these whatever, don't need what you have. But like you said, you might want to take a step back. I think what you're going to find here is you're going to find the people that were selling, which means they're pushing, right? They're selling something to somebody.
Which is the perception or a perception.
Sure. Right. So, you get that point where you're selling something that they may not need. You're going to find that type of sales is going to be a lot more difficult, right? To send 3 more emails, 5 more phone calls, because people are going to be busy trying to, put back together their businesses. And I think your opportunity to push hard and sell, that persistence eliminates resistance type sales, it's not going to happen. I think if you're in that needs-based selling, something that you and I hold very, very, very close to our heart. It's something that we both practice all the time. When you're known as someone who can problem solve, they can solve. And, use the toilet paper example. I mean, you and I both know that there's a right way to sell toilet paper and there's a wrong, right? Just because I can order it and everything's fine. I'll tell you right now, I can't order toilet paper at Walmart right now. And I'm starting to get a little concerned myself, right? But that's because it's become commoditized. If I knew there was a custom toilet paper shop that I could spend a little bit more money on, and I knew I could get a hold of somebody, and they would answer my phone call, and they'd say, Tom, we'd love to deliver it to your house. Do you want them monogrammed again this time, or do you just want the plain ones? I'll tell you right now, I'd pay for it.
I think it's
And,
a dead monogram, because when you said a custom toilet paper, that's what I thought of. I thought of a T and a nice font.
Yeah, we could go too far on that one. No,
Yeah.
but that also tells me a little bit about my experience outside of what I do. Having to be able to shop for some groceries, right in the first few weeks there. We called a few stores, definitely some local stores, and they were like right on it. I know that Food Fair, a great local company here in Winnipeg, they were, handwriting orders, literally, old school handwriting orders. One guy would go or a lady would go and pack it, and like that person literally was your personal shopper. And I'll tell you, I never looked at the bill. I didn't question why the broccoli was, 10 cents more per kilogram or pound. That didn't bother me because I got what I was looking for and I needed it.
Sure.
So, price wasn't an issue right then.
I think we can wrap this all up saying that that's about finding the need and filling it. And that's such a trite, sales philosophy that we all subscribe to, but it comes down to that. And we're all finding needs in different markets and different solution sets that we offer. And I think what you're doing and how you're approaching it, and the support technology that you have behind you, and what you're able to do for clients is a big win, man. So what kind of advice would you give to people on how they can win coming out of this COVID-19? We're in the crisis mode right now. We're starting to get into recovery, at least in our territory. So hopefully we're going to continue in the recovery mode. How can people win in their finances? Just one thought on that too.
So are you, sorry, I think I know what you're asking though. So, like as what I do, like what we do, and for people who are listening to this call.
Anyone listening to this call that is in charge of managing their own money, they have inflow, They have expenses, and we're just coming out of all this external chaos and all this internal uncertainty. What advice?
My advice is to treat your individual, even if you're incorporated and you own, whatever massive company or just a one-man shop or lady shop, is treat your financial life like you would treat your finances in your business. So, you are a business. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. You're the business, right? You and I joke about you're the businessman. No, I am a businessman. And what that means though is that, take a P&L, like take a profit and loss on yourself and take a look at that. That's a budget, right? How much money did you bring in personally? How much went out? It doesn't take a long time, but I think a lot of people miss that little red light on the bottom of the cockpit of their 747. They don't check off that, they're spending more than they should. And again, like you said, it sounds trite. I think that, this will be the time that people are going to be leaning on advice, and the advice that you get, you've got to understand where it's coming from, right? Is this a needs-based advice system that you're subscribing to for your personal finances, right? Do you have a system, right, to check on those P&L balances? Do you have a system to make sure that there's no outstanding needs? Do you have a system on where you're going to get your money from and how you're going to, use it and withdraw it? So, I guess it would be, unfortunately, probably what's right behind my head here. I think it says a plan for living, right? Is that what is your financial plan? And that's where I think that connection is going to happen now, because going in once a year, talking about, Amazon stock, maybe, a retirement review, I don't think it's going to cut it anymore. I think this is going to be something where I should be able to push a button, get a hold of a qualified advisor, someone who has a designation to fit the role of managing your financial life, and work with them regularly, right? Work with them like extremely regularly, whether that's once a quarter, it's a financial checkup, just like if you're going to the dentist. Where are we at? What are we doing? And how do we move forward?
I think that's going to be relevant, especially as we go through the recovery phase, which could be a year, 2-3 year process. We don't
Sure.
T, if people want to get in touch with you, man, how can they do it? Through your practice or through social media?
Yeah, easiest way is tomaldridge.ca. If you just Google Tom Aldridge, you'll find us. We're pretty much everywhere. IG is where I hang my hat during the day. But yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way. It's just Google tomaldridge.ca and you'll catch up with us.